It was a warm summer evening, and the backyard was filled with laughter and the smell of grilled food. My brother's wife, Sarah, had just turned 30, and the party was in full swing. Family and friends gathered around tables decorated with balloons and flowers. I arrived a bit late, carrying a gift I'd carefully chosen for her, a necklace that matched her style perfectly. As I handed it to her, she smiled brightly and hugged me tightly, saying thank you in a way that felt warmer than usual. My brother, Mark, was busy at the grill, flipping burgers and joking with his buddies. Kids were running around, playing games, and music played softly in the background. I grabbed a drink and mingled, feeling relaxed among familiar faces. Sarah looked stunning in her red dress, her hair cascading down her shoulders. Throughout the night, I caught her glancing my way more than once, but I brushed it off as nothing.
As the party progressed, we all gathered for cake. Sarah blew out the candles amid cheers and applause. Mark made a sweet speech about how lucky he was to have her, and everyone raised their glasses. I toasted along, genuinely happy for them. They'd been married for 5 years and seemed perfect together. After cake, people started dancing on the makeshift dance floor. Sarah pulled me onto it for a fun group dance, laughing as we moved awkwardly to the beat. Her energy was infectious, and we shared a few lighthearted moments. Later, she asked me to help refill drinks, and we ended up in the kitchen chatting about old times. She reminisced about when I first met her, how I made her feel welcome in the family. I nodded, enjoying the conversation, unaware of where it might lead.
The night grew cooler, and some guests began leaving. The crowd thinned, leaving mostly close family. Mark suggested a game of cards, and a few of us sat around the table. Sarah joined, sitting next to me. As we played, her foot accidentally brushed mine under the table, or so I thought. She laughed at my jokes more than anyone else's, and her eyes lingered on me. I felt a strange flutter, but dismissed it as the alcohol talking. We won a round together, high-fiving enthusiastically. Mark was distracted, talking to his parents on the side. Sarah leaned in to whisper strategy tips, her breath warm on my ear. The game wrapped up, and people started cleaning up a bit. I offered to help carry dishes inside.
In the kitchen again, just the two of us for a moment, Sarah thanked me for coming and for the gift. She said it meant a lot that I put thought into it. I replied it was no big deal, she's family after all. She paused, looking at me intently, then changed the subject to how life had been for me lately. I shared about work stresses and recent travels. She listened closely, touching my arm lightly as she empathized. The moment felt intimate, but the door was open and voices drifted in from outside. Mark called for her, and she left with a smile, leaving me puzzled by the vibe. Later, as fireworks started, Mark had surprised her with some. Everyone gathered on the lawn. Sarah stood near me, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the chill. She offered to share it, and I accepted, standing close. The bursts of color lit up the sky, and she gasped in delight. Between explosions, she turned to me and said softly how nice it was to have me there. I agreed, watching her face glow in the light. My heart beat a little faster, but I focused on the show. After the finale, applause erupted and hugs were exchanged. Sarah hugged me longer than others, her head resting briefly on my shoulder. The party wound down, and most guests had gone. Only Mark, Sarah, me, and a couple cousins remained. We sat around the fire pit, roasting marshmallows. Stories flowed, mostly funny family anecdotes. Sarah shared one about meeting Mark, glancing at me oddly as she spoke of initial attractions. The fire crackled, casting shadows. Mark yawned, saying he was beat from hosting. He headed inside to bed, suggesting we clean up tomorrow. The cousins soon followed, leaving just Sarah and me by the dying fire. She poked at the embers, quiet for a bit. Alone now, the air felt charged. Crickets chirped and the house lights dimmed. Sarah looked at me across the flames, her expression serious, yet soft. She said she needed to talk about something. My stomach tightened, sensing importance. She moved closer, sitting beside me on the bench. Her hand rested near mine. She started by saying how much she valued our friendship over the years, how I was always kind and understanding. I nodded, waiting. Then her voice lowered. She admitted feelings had grown complicated.
She confessed that over time, spending family time together, she'd developed deeper emotions toward me. My mind raced. Shock, confusion, a hint of reciprocation I'd buried. She said it started innocently, but became stronger. Tonight, seeing me there, supportive and thoughtful, it overwhelmed her. She apologized for the timing, knowing it was wrong, but needed to say it. Tears welled in her eyes as she spoke of loving Mark, but feeling this pull. I sat frozen, processing. I finally spoke, voice shaky, saying this was unexpected and complicated. I cared for her too, more than as a sister-in-law, but Mark was my brother. Loyalty tore at me. She nodded, understandingly, wiping her eyes. We sat in silence, the fire nearly out. She reached for my hand, holding it gently. The moment was tender, yet heartbreaking. I didn't pull away immediately, conflicted emotions swirling. Eventually, I suggested we think carefully, not rush decisions that could hurt everyone. As dawn approached, we extinguished the fire and headed inside quietly. She hugged me goodnight at the guest room door, whispering, "Thanks for listening." I lay awake long after, replaying her words. "I've liked you for a long time." The confession changed everything, leaving questions about feelings, family, and future. The party ended, but this moment lingered, a secret between us, poised to alter lives forever.